Hey everyone, this is Colin from Note, and this is the first of a series of episodes we're going to make on just growth, product-led growth, and all things around that. So today, just want to touch up upon product qualified leads, and so we're going to talk about what is a product qualified lead, defining the criteria for that, and then kind of just some tips and common pitfalls with companies as they try to roll out product qualified leads. And so the idea is across the marketing funnel. So we're looking at prior to acquisition. Um, Generally, product is starting to take up a role um, towards middle to bottom of funnel. And so customers are interacting with the product, especially when you're talking about software companies with either a self-service possibility, freemium, or free trials. Customers or users are interacting with the product before they become active customers. And so the idea is we want to have qualified leads we can pass on to the salespeople, and we want to make sure they're going after strong opportunities. And so we set filtration criteria for marketing qualified leads, and so it's certain engagement with certain content. So we know that if they download a white paper on a specific thing, they're more likely to be part of our ICP. Same with sales qualified leads. We have our BDRs talk to them, or our SDRs talk to them. But usually, and a lot of times, a very efficient and accurate way to get a good gauge for people who are ready for the product and do meet our ICP criteria, or more than that, they kind of fit the product market fit our product designed for. And so the idea is, how can we define a set of criterias um, that would signify a very strong relationship with likeliness to buy and fitting the overall product use case? How do we then set up the product analytics to segment those customer groups, send them over to our CRM, and then have our salespeople, whether it starts with the SDR, talking to them to qualifying them, or straight to our account execs. So I'm going to talk a bit about, first of all, defining the product qualified lead criteria. And so the idea is defining product qualified lead criteria is important for two reasons. First reason is obviously we want to give more qualified leads to our sales team, but also having a clear criteria of what sort of engagement or early signs of activation means can help the product teams build better products because then they can optimize for that. They could optimize for certain features or the product experience to lead to adoption of those certain features. So I'm going to quickly talk about defining the product qualified lead criteria. And so generally, we want to start simple and proof concept, and then get buy-in from the organization overall. Generally, for smaller organizations, the recommended approach I would go for is to actually start by talking to sort of customer success teams, talking to product teams, talking to sales teams, and kind of thinking together which interactions or behaviors with product would we predict these qualified candidates to exhibit. And is this the best way possible to go about it? Maybe not necessarily scientifically or numbers wise, but it does get the whole team involved. And what we can do is, if we start with a few simple parameters I want to look for, we can actually then do a back test. And so we can set up, ideally, dump into a data warehouse our product analytics data, our CRM data, and we can try to see before we roll this out, has there been any relationship between the criteria or the qualification attributes that we kind of all brainstorm together and then close rates, looking at historic data? So correlation with close rates, correlation with average contract values, etc. Usually, you would get to a decent point here where you can see, okay, we do have a general idea, um, and you can start with that. A sort of more quantitative approach to go down, which has its own pitfalls. It's not like the perfect solution, is to dump again product analytics data and then our CRM data into a data warehouse or something of similar sort, and then do regression analysis between certain behaviors or triggering of certain events and close rates, and average contract values. Again, the problem with this is it can get a bit too complicated, especially with earlier teams. And when I say complicated, I mean specifically when it comes to getting the teams on board with it, because they all need to believe in it to push for it. And in addition, usually smaller teams don't have the cleanest data when it comes to event tracking or to CRM close rates or the entire CRM pipeline. And so those are kind of challenges to be mindful of. Idea is defining your product qualified lead criteria is not a one-time thing. It's not something you define once and you're good for perpetuity. So you constantly want to be iterating it. The idea is to start with something that's accurate enough to not waste the sales team's time, to actually cause an uplift, a decent uplift in the quality of the leads you're engaging with, and to get the entire organization around that. Then you can iterate going forward. It's a big mistake to just do something once and then leave it alone, especially with something like this. An alternative approach you could do once your organization has evolved a bit is to set up sort of criteria that give you a confidence score of them being product qualified leads, and then you can segment those leads into tiers based on uh, their user scoring. So, for example, what you could do is you could say customers who have a over 70% fit on our criteria are tier one leads. They get passed on to the highest performing account execs. Tier two leads could be customers between 70 and 50% fitting the models. And then you could do that as well for tier three customers. Just one more comment, since I'm on the discussion of sort of the criteria. Something you could do if you're a more established or more mature organization overall, and you service multiple industries, you service multiple jobs to be done, sort of groups, you could create different criteria from that, and then you can select whatever model you're using based on what they fill in during their onboarding or enriching your data through other sources to get their industry, etc. That's a bit for more mature organizations to get started, keep it simple, but do make sure the entire team's around it and that it does improve the quality of the leads the sales team's dealing with. So naturally, you want to have event tracking set up for that. And so I just want to talk a bit about the workflows you need to support and kind of a few pointers to keep in mind when doing something like this. Essentially, you want to have accurate, clean event tracking going on in your product analytics. The process of getting that into the CRM is usually what I like to do, especially if you're starting small and you don't have a CDP, you don't have all these things, is to actually create the segments straight on your event tracking or product analytics platform. The big ones all support creating segmented groups there. Then you can create a data pipeline, whether it's natively straight to your CRM or so large ones have integration. So if you're using HubSpot, it can be easy to find all sorts of integrations. If you're using something a bit more niche, you might want to build out your own pipeline. And once they get dumped on the CRM, it's really important to have a proper workflow set up there. Of course, you want to set up the lead source properly. You want to set up a workflow, perhaps starting with an email before the sales team follows up with them. It's really about creating a seamless interaction between for the customer from using the product to someone getting to them at the right time with the right information and creating a seamless experience the whole way through. Because again, the idea is the product team with product qualified leads is not trying to take away from the sales team. They're actually just trying to get them at the right time for the right customers. And so the implications on the customer side is this smooth journey of them discovering their own features. And as they begin to trigger certain things, salespeople stepping in and guiding them through that. And this is kind of one of the beauties of the freemium model is that initially, or sort of a free trial model, is by giving users access to the complete set of features, you can actually pick out um, or better filter out for product qualified leads. So usually like enterprise features, let's say integration. So if someone integrates with Salesforce, they're uh, they're more likely, for example, to uh, to be a product qualified lead. But if you give them a free trial for the product that does not allow them to integrate, or does not allow them to integrate with Salesforce at any point in time, they're not even going to get to that. So you can't pick it up. That's kind of the power of having, at least for some period of time, giving them access to the entire product suite. Um, that's kind of big comments on product qualified leads. I hope this was useful for you. We're going to be hopefully releasing a lot more videos like this. And thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, I'm going to put my email and our website below. Do feel free to reach out to me with any questions, any ideas you may have. And hopefully, we'll also be posting more resources on our website. Again, it'll be linked in the beginning, in the description, was a blog. And yeah, thank you for watching.